When you think of war, what comes to mind? Probably, bombed out cities, frontline soldiers. But there's this whole other battlefield, a hidden one. And that's what we're going to dig into today. The intense psychological war that's waged on civilians, fought miles away from any trench. Yeah, I mean, beyond all the physical destruction you see on the news, war casts this long, dark shadow over the human mind. It's this hidden battle, and it's being fought every single day by just ordinary people who are caught in the middle of it all. So that brings us to the real question here, right? In that shadow, when it feels like your whole world is just falling apart, how on earth do people find the strength to keep going? What is it that allows the human spirit not just to, survive, but to actually fight back? Okay, so to really get a handle on that strength, we first have to understand what they're up against. We've got to look at the assault itself. These unseen scars, the immediate and just relentless psychological pressure civilians are under. And what's just both fascinating and tragic is how all these stressors create this kind of cascade effect. It all starts with this pervasive fear, a constant state of high alert. I mean, can you imagine just never feeling safe? Then that gets piled on with this overwhelming loss, the grief for loved ones, for your home, for any sense of a normal life. After that, you have mass displacement, which literally rips people away from their roots, their identity. And then finally, being exposed to violence all the time. It's profoundly dehumanizing. It just shatters everything you thought you knew about the world. And look, these aren't just, abstract feelings like being sad or scared. These are real, deep psychological wounds. And experts have actually developed specific clinical frameworks to help us understand them, to categorize them, and even diagnose them. The one you've probably heard of is post-traumatic stress disorder, right? PTSD. And for someone with PTSD, the traumatic event, it's not over. It's not in the past. It's like a ghost that's living with them right now, in the present. They re-experience it through flashbacks, nightmares. It's like their brain's alarm system gets stuck in the on position and just never ever switches off. Then there's something closely related called acute stress disorder, or ASD. The easiest way to think about this one is like it's the immediate shock response. It has a lot of the same symptoms as PTSD, but it happens right after the trauma, and usually it resolves within about a month. If it doesn't, well, that's when it can turn into PTSD. Okay, so this next one. This is an incredibly powerful concept. It's called moral injury. And this isn't a wound from fear like the others. This is a wound to your conscience, to your very soul. It's that deep, gut-wrenching distress you feel from witnessing, or maybe even being forced to participate in, actions that just go against everything you believe in. And it leaves behind this crippling sense of shame or guilt. And this is really the crucial part. That initial shock from an attack, it can change. It can morph into this chronic, grinding anxiety. You're not reacting to a bomb that's falling right now. You're living with the constant possibility that one could fall at any second. And that constant what if, it's just so corrosive to the human spirit. But, and this is so important, all of this devastation, all this trauma, it is not the whole story. Not even close. Because right alongside all that trauma, something else starts to emerge. Something pretty amazing, actually. We're talking about the surprising power of human resilience. It's like people start building these unseen fortresses in their minds to protect their inner world. So, what even is resilience? Well, it's not about being some kind of superhero who doesn't feel pain. That's a huge misconception. It's actually the active process of adapting. It's that incredible, profound ability to cope with suffering and somehow just keep going. So where does this incredible strength actually come from? Well, you might be surprised. It's not usually found in some big, heroic gesture you'd see in a movie. It's actually forged in the small, everyday routines, the little things. And those little things become these powerful acts of defiance. They're like psychological anchors in the middle of a hurricane. All right, so let's dig into that. What are these acts? How do these really simple daily routines manage to transform into these anchors that can literally preserve someone's sanity and hope? Okay, let's take something as simple as preparing a meal. In a war zone, that's not just making dinner. It becomes this powerful ritual. It's a way to reclaim just a tiny piece of normalcy, a little bit of control in a world of chaos. It becomes an act of caring for your family, a real connection. And in the end, Sharing that meal, wow, it's this beautiful, symbolic affirmation of life right in the face of death. Or how about this? A small garden. I mean, think about it. Tending to plants connects you to the cycles of life and growth, which is the exact opposite of the destruction of war all around you. Yeah, it provides food, which gives you a feeling of agency, but it's so much more than that. Planting a seed, that's a radical act of hope. It's a real, tangible investment in a future you are insisting will exist. And you start to see this resilience pop up everywhere. Continuing a child's education, maybe in a basement shelter, that's a huge bet on a future beyond the conflict. Or telling stories. It's not just for fun, it's how you preserve a community's soul when everything physical is being erased. Even something as small as mending a piece of clothing becomes this powerful assertion of control and dignity in a world that's just pure chaos. So when you put all of this together, it really forces you to look at survival through a completely new lens, doesn't it? It's asking us to shift our whole perspective, to stop seeing people as just passive victims and to start seeing them as active survivors. And this right here is probably the most important takeaway. For civilians who are caught in a conflict, everyday life, it isn't an escape from the war. All those things, cooking, gardening, teaching your kids, they aren't distractions. They are the battleground. That is the very place where the fight for psychological survival is actually being won. So I'm going to leave you with this question to think about. The next time you're watching the news and you see footage from a conflict zone, how is this going to change what you see? Will you be able to look past that image of a passive victim and instead see the portrait of a survivor? Someone who is actively, courageously fighting a war on a front that we almost never even acknowledge.